Back to the breaking news here on the special edition of the 11th hour. Former President Donald John Trump has been indicted on charges he conspired to defraud the United States and prevent the peaceful transfer of power to President Joe Biden. With us tonight to discuss, Democratic Congressman of California Eric Swalwell. He was also an impeachment manager in Donald Trump's second impeachment trial, which centered on his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. Congressman, given all the work that you put in, given all that you know through that impeachment process, what's your reaction tonight?
Well, Stephanie, every single American should read the indictment in the case of the United States of America versus Donald Trump. And I would just almost say, like, hard stop. You know, read the indictment. It lays out the facts. And to just step back as, you know, somebody who was in the chamber that day, who was trying to count every one of your viewers' votes to make sure that their voice was heard. My goal is that Donald Trump receives equal justice under the Constitution, due process under law, and treated no better or worse than any other criminal defendant in America.
Funny you should say that, because earlier tonight, Republican Lisa Murkowski, like you, urged people read the indictment. Ron DeSantis, Florida governor, who's running against Donald Trump for the Republican nomination, said he didn't read it. What does that tell you about the party?
It tells me that the Republican Party, particularly Speaker McCarthy and Republicans in Congress, have formed the largest law firm in Washington, D.C., and they represent just one client, Donald Trump. They're not working on bringing down the cost of health care. They're not bringing, you know, any sort of ethics reforms to, you know, insider trading in Congress, something I know you have talked about and care a lot about. They're not bringing down the cost of college. They're just working every day to represent that client, Donald Trump. And it really, really undermines the rule of law when all you do is attack independent prosecutors and FBI agents who just want to make sure that no one's above the law and certainly no one's beneath it.
Donald Trump also doesn't talk about the cost of health care, immigration, our education system. Many could wonder, what exactly is he running for in terms of this presidential campaign? But there's another Republican I want to ask you about. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. I want to share what he said about Donald Trump immediately after he was acquitted in that second impeachment. Please watch this.
There's no question, none, that President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day. No question about it. President Trump is still liable for everything he did while he was in office as an ordinary citizen. Unless the statute of limitations is run, still liable for everything he did while he's in office. Didn't get away with anything yet. We have a criminal justice system in this country. We have civil litigation. And former presidents are not immune from being accountable by either one.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, talk is cheap, and Donald Trump should not be today because we had a case where we had Republicans on board, not enough to bar him from ever running again. And so talk is cheap. And what Mitch McConnell did as a juror was to enable Donald Trump to continue to run as a candidate today and to undermine our system of justice. I just can't imagine when I was a prosecutor, if I had proved my case beyond a reasonable doubt and a jury acquitted the defendant, and then one of the jurors was telling a TV camera outside the courtroom, the defendant is responsible for everything that they did. It'd be like, well, you had a chance to do that. And so, you know, that speech is cold comfort for every American who wants to see accountability.
To that point, do these charges validate the work of the January 6th committee?
You know, it validates the work of the second impeachment trial, where we tried this case within a couple of weeks of the attack. We didn't have much evidence. And from that, the bipartisan members of the January 6th committee went to work for 18 more months and showed that Donald Trump incited, lied to, and aimed a mob at the Capitol because he lost an election and wanted that mob to overturn it. And this man, who's been a stranger to accountability his whole life, is finally meeting it.
They did not overturn that election. That angry mob did not get what they want, and many of them are sitting in prison as we speak. Congressman, thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. Congressman Eric Swalwell of California.